morning, everyone, and welcome back to Wake and Take. It's your boy Jason, all kind of refreshed from a nice week in New Orleans. I'm home, I got some sleep, and I'm ready to share to you stories from my amazing week out in New Orleans, from media week to the game. It was amazing. So why don't we go ahead, take out our coffee, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Good morning to everyone here in the chat. We got Best Ball, we got Jeff, we got Alex, we got Happy Hudson, we got Paul, and I'm sure plenty more piling in to hear about the week. You know, we could talk football all we want. I could give you dynasty takes all I want, but how often do you guys get to hear some firsthand experience about what it means to be media at the Super Bowl? And I gotta say, the experience from this week is something I will remember for my entire life. It was nothing short of special, really. I am exhausted, but I am also have just newfound appreciation for this whole space in general. I really don't even know where to begin, but I do want to at least start with a little bit of a gratitude because, yes, this episode is going to be about my experience at the Super Bowl, down in New Orleans, the media week stuff, everything, right? But also, we are all kind of products of our environment, right? Like, I couldn't be here without everything lining up in the way it did. You know, 3 years ago when I started at Player Profiler, just writing some articles, I never could have imagined that I would be at the Super Bowl, literally at the Super Bowl, as we will come to find out. Had literal seats at the Super Bowl, got to interview all these players. And none of that would have been possible without my fiance, without my fiance's family, without my family, without my friends, without Player Profiler, without you guys for tuning into Wake and Take and giving me a platform and keeping the platform up. None of that is possible without so many different people that kind of have allowed me the opportunity to be able to work so hard in this space. Like, yeah, sure, I worked hard to get there. But without you guys, without everyone else in my life, I wouldn't even have the opportunity to grind in the way I did, to hustle in the way I did. So I just really want to give some gratitude to everyone involved that has kind of helped push me up into this area. I know that today's episode is going to just be kind of about my experience and everything, but again, none of that is even possible without so many different people in my life that I can't start the show without talking about that. I just can't. But you're not here for me to give some sort of Super Bowl speech and gratitude speech. You're here to hear about the week. So why don't we just go ahead and kind of get right on into it. I do want to start things off just talking about my man Anand, really. We made it out to the game, and he's just an incredible dude, right? Obviously, I want to thank Player Profiler and Matt for sending me out there. But this week does not happen without Anand Nanduri. He took me under his wing this week. He showed me what it kind of means to cover the Super Bowl. He's been doing it for years now. He's so selfless. One of the most selfless people I've ever met. And I got to meet so many people, do so many things kind of because of him. Really, the only reason that Player Profiler even gets to go to the Super Bowl is Anand. And this week was 100% nowhere near as successful without him. So I just want to shout out Anand for getting this thing going. It was great. And he was a massive part of that even being able to happen. So Anand, I hope you're listening. Thank you, man. Thank you, brother. I got to, I haven't talked to Anand in the way I have. I mean, we had a whole week together. We've met a few times, but I truly got to know this person this week. And just an amazing guy, and I'm so grateful to have been able to kind of spend the week with him and learn so much from him. And we're going to kind of talk about that experience. So things start at the Super Bowl on opening night. Opening night is a Monday thing, so I actually drove out from Atlanta Monday morning to make it. And basically what they have is opening night. So the way the Super Bowl is set up for media is, yes, of course, the game is Sunday, but from Monday through Thursday, they have all sorts of different media events. And the first one is Monday night. It's opening night. They have all the players and a bunch of other celebrities and stuff come out to the stadium, and they'll do interviews. You can kind of see it like right on the kind of sidelines. There's some booths That's where the kind of players were all sitting, and all of these people in the crowd right here, that is media. And that there's like kind of like a little bit of a lap that you can take to interview all these players, get into the media scrum. And I have to say, this was by far the most overwhelming part of the entire week. On and let me know that last year the like kind of player booths were on the outside and you had a little bit more space to move around. There was so many people, I could hardly breathe on the lower levels. That's why this photo was taken from above. I was like, I don't think I'm going to really be able to get a single interview question in from the amount of people that were down there. And that's kind of how I felt. It was an amazing time to be able to be down there, but holy shit, is it overwhelming down on opening night at that stadium. I can't even say that enough, really. In fact, I recorded a whole video about that, or not a whole video, but a little thing kind of about it. Check this out. Oh man, how am I gonna figure out which one it is? Here it is. Here we go.
Player Profiler live at the Super Bowl. If you like being overwhelmed, this is the place to do it.
So yeah, very overwhelming, I won't lie, at the opening night, but it was pretty cool. I'm sure you guys saw a lot of different clips. None from Player Profiler, really. The amount of actual media that was there to be able to interview these players was, I mean, more than any other day that week. I think that a lot of kind of outlets, this was their one chance to be able to talk to these players. And I mean, I'm talking news network after news network, massive cameras in front of each booth, 20 to 30 people in front of each booth, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that's a lot. And eye-opening for the rest of the week is kind of what I would say. That kind of, oh, I'm overwhelmed feeling did give me the confidence to go through the rest of the week and just kind of push through at the actual media availability. So this was kind of opening night. It was a very overwhelming but very cool experience as well, being in the stadium on the turf with random like cheerleader shows and different performances in general going on in the field. There, you know, it was on TV. You might have seen the broadcast. It was pretty cool stuff. And you may have even seen like some of the interview clips from some of the players, you know, like calling out the ref stuff, or AJ Brown. Shout out Kelly Singh, asked about kind of his depression and how he's been able to manage that. That is an incredible clip. If you want to hear AJ Brown kind of talk about battling some mental illness and stuff like that, that was a really good thing that came out of this night. But for the most part, for media, what we really care about is Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday mornings. At the team hotels, they have the chance to interview players, and it's them all. And I actually had the chance to speak to pretty much any player that you would have wanted to talk to, and I have put together a couple compilation clips about that. So we'll start with number one, day one. I got to speak with some players, and we could just go ahead and watch that. I'll take
Ability event. I got to ask some of your favorite players some questions. Here are their answers. What do you say about being on the Mount Rushmore of quarterbacks already?
Yeah, that's stuff that I don't really look into. I just look at who the best person world that I can be, and if I can be mentioned with any of those guys in the QB grades, it's amazing. But that's not my job to do. It's my job to go out there and play football and be the best version myself.
Jalen, despite an amazing start to your career, you still have a bunch of doubters. What can you say about proving them wrong this weekend?
It's not about them. It's always about the work you put in, and everything being a reflection of the work. And so I've always had a focus on myself and trying to improve. And ultimately, want to beat the opponent, whoever's in front of you, but just trying to improve and take it a day at a time.
Well, then what can you say about having the best nickname in the game?
I mean, it's cool. I tribute to my hometown. I'm from Hollywood, Florida. So, you know, all the kids back there, when, you know, they screaming Hollywood, you know, I look at it as a sign for not just me up here, but it's for everyone back at home.
So that was day one.
Jason for player.
Here's some day two clips as well. Pretty cool stuff.
Player profiler Jason here on day 2 of Super Bowl media availability. I got to ask some of your favorite players in the big game some questions. Here are their answers. Saquon, what could you say about going from the Giants to now being a giant part of the Eagles' game plan of this amazing season?
Yeah, I'm happy to be a giant part of the Eagles because, you know, and free agency, you have the opportunity to make a decision where you want to go. And me and my family thought that this would be the best decision for us, and it turned out to be a hit, I guess you could say. And I'm just happy to be part of the Eagles organization because everyone here from top to bottom has been amazing to me and my family. And the way that they treat people here, the way that they respect people here, it's love, and I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Congrats.
I'm pretty good at it.
AJ, speaking of that, man, you've been elite even back to your Tennessee days. What could you say about being able to maintain that production with an amazing wide receiver on the opposite side as well?
I think it's just always just raising the level play. You know, continue to get better each and every year. You know, put in that time in the offseason, continue to grow.
Obviously, you had the fastest 40 time. What could you say about a lot of people who kind of thought that you'd just be like a one-trick pony speed guy coming in and having the successful rookie season you have?
Man, the main thing for me was just going out there and being the best, being proving everybody wrong and showing I could be in this play in this league.
One of the best college wide receivers to do it, but still a lot of people kind of doubted that your game would translate to the next level. What could you say about kind of proving them wrong and almost carving out like a brand new archetype of wide receiver at the NFL?
I wouldn't say it's proving them wrong, it's just proving myself right. At the end of the day, it's football. It's all what you make of it. It's all about how you prepare for it. I feel like a big part of it is preparation. As long as you prepare how you need to prepare, when you get out there to the game, it's going to be easy.
So you've had really a Hall of Fame career, one of the best wide receivers to ever do it. How does it feel to now make it to the big game?
It feels good. I've been playing 12 years and haven't been in this position, so it's a blessing.
And yeah, I mean, I got to talk to a lot more players, but you know, those are kind of the big ones that you guys care about. I mean, I talked to Samaje Perine, I talked to Tyquan Thornton, you know, I talked to Will Shipley, which dynasty take, by the way. I would say buy some Will Shipleys if you want to get some Will Shipley shares. I am definitely a big fan of that. Obviously, Saquon's incredible, but one day, I do, after speaking to Will Shipley, I do think that he is, of course, going to kind of turn into something. So I do want to say getting him, it was super great to talk to him as well. But so that's kind of the media week. Those are the interviews that you could get. And kind of before we move on to some more experiences from the week and what it means to be media, I did want to say that the Philadelphia Eagles, they had aura throughout the entire week. Like, I know that I went on into my preview show and just said that, you know, the Eagles, having lost the last one, are going to go into this game with a chip on their shoulder, really show up to play business. And you could just kind of tell the feeling from every single Eagles player you talk to, even the coaches, you know, they had this sort of, we're here for business, we're gonna whoop ass in this game, and we're excited to show you all that. It wasn't said out loud, but you could genuinely feel it. Any media person that you talk to, I think, would say the kind of the same thing. They had this sort of just, they were ready to play football. They were focused energy all week, and it was really great to chop it up with really all those players. Some really cool guys. Carson Steele, I asked about his pet alligator, which we'll get to in a second, because we got to meet some alligators at the media party. And, you know, just a lot of fun stuff. You get to meet all sorts of different players, interview them, get the stuff going. And I would say that part of the media availability is a lot easier. As you saw, I got to actually ask questions to basically everyone that I otherwise wouldn't have at that opening night. You might be asking, Jason, why didn't you ask Travis Kelce a question? Well, I did, and unfortunately, I asked the wrong question. I don't really know what I was thinking besides morbid curiosity, but I wanted to know if he had any Kanye on his playlist, and he obviously doesn't. I don't know why I asked him that, but Yahoo has run with it, People.com has run with it, New York Post has run with it, Daily Mail has run with it. It was kind of all over, and not gonna lie, kind of regret asking that question, but also, you know, learning experience. Learning experience for sure. So on Tuesday night, we had this amazing thing called the media party. And the NFL throws this obviously every single year at the Super Bowl. And from what I gather and from what I experienced, this is probably the NFL's biggest event of the year, at least in terms of like an inner celebration outside of like the big game itself. Because this media party, what a production, really. Every single person from NFL media is invited to this. I didn't get to, at this party, I don't know if any of the bigger names were there. I certainly saw a lot of the bigger names throughout the week, especially on opening night. On opening night, I got to see like Ian Rappaport, Peter Schrager, and all them. At the media party, they might have been there, but there was just so many people that you probably wouldn't have even been able to find out. I'm talking every single person from the media was invited. It was at the Mardi Gras World in New Orleans, and if any of you are familiar with that, it's a massive kind of convention center sort of deal, and they needed the space because when you walk into this, it's like one building, one like convention center type, I don't know, almost like an airplane hangar, I would describe it. And they had like 2 open bars in this room. They had like 4 different food stands. They had a DJ set going. They had lots of different like kind of photo things. This is the room I'm in right now. They had that weird kind of stage, miniature stage type setup in this room. But then you go outside and there's more open bars, more food trucks, another stage, and the ability to hold an alligator, as well as a bunch of different other animals from the bayou in Louisiana. I got to hold this alligator. I got to have a python around my neck. I held an albino snake. There was even a smaller alligator I got to hold. Some fun stuff going on there. There was another stage. There was a museum, and I want to talk about that museum type thing actually because it was pretty interesting once you go inside. On the outside, it's like, okay, there's this museum. It's advertised as kind of them showing off all of the different Super Bowls that have been held in New Orleans. But you walk inside and you go through the museum bit, and then there's a door to exit the museum. And you might be thinking, that looks like it's outside again. No, that was just inside. They had like a kind of Disney setup going on with all sorts of fake kind of bayou trees and stuff like that going on. There was 2 more open bars, 10 more different food stands, and you could walk around out there, and despite it being inside, it felt like outside, and the lights were nice, and the atmosphere was nice. I got jalapeno grits, which were absolutely delicious. That was probably my favorite food from the entire week. It was grits with jalapenos in it, or like more like jalapeno flavoring, and then they had like a bunch of different like sweet peppers as like a garnish, and that was incredible. And it was delicious, really, actually. So shout out jalapeno grits. If you guys can ever find those, I would say eat them. But then you go back inside, and there's another room, and it is this. It was just Grammy-nominated Tank and the Bangas playing at another concert stage with, there was a balcony you could look on top, and there was another open bar and like 10 more dessert trucks. I got a strawberry cheesecake, which was delicious, and we stayed up there and watched the music for a bit. You could go back down and get on the dance floor if you wanted as well, but we decided to still kind of just walk around the place and go outside, in which there was another stage with these fellas putting on a little show. They had a little dance competition thingy going as well outside at this stage. Basically what I'm trying to get at is this media party had to have cost at least $1 million. Like, it was just insane what they went on doing at this party. And I mean, really what an experience. I got to meet Luke Sawhook, which was pretty cool as well. I hadn't really been able to meet him before. So that's kind of the production at the media party. All of the media gets free drinks, free food, and everything for the whole week with like 5 different music stages of different artists and stuff like that. Really incredible time. And then, kind of the thing that you guys maybe care most about in terms of what it is like to be media is what happens at Radio Row. So this is kind of what it looks like inside Radio Row. Nothing like too fancy, just a lot of different tables. I don't know if any of you have been to like a convention, like a Comic-Con type place. That's kind of what it felt like to me on a little bit of a smaller scale. You know, they have all sorts of different vendors, and mostly though they had all of the different studio setups for basically any show you could think of, from Pat McAfee to just basic NFL Network. And it was pretty cool to be able to walk around, like outside of the tables that I showed were all the different booths and studio setups, and you could just walk around freely. You know, I saw like Michael Penix and Justin Jefferson giving an interview. We saw Cam Newton doing a show. We got to meet Michael Brockers, who was doing his own show inside Radio Row. You know, you could see all of the different kind of TV hosts walking around and doing their thing. Lots of different work going on. Like, this is a true work area. But they also had some fun events, which of course which is why I say it kind of reminds me of a little bit of a like Comic-Con type deal. Like they had like this little thing going on, and I didn't do a great job, but I'll still show you guys. Just a little bit of like a football target practice, which was kind of fun to do. You know, I like throwing footballs. I'm a big fan of throwing footballs, so they had that going on. I got to meet Patrick Starr as well. They had like a Nickelodeon booth, which was pretty funny. You got to like basically, I don't know, you spun a wheel and you played a game, and then you could win some Nickelodeon slime. And my game was matching Spanish terms to the English terms. I don't know, not much of a game, but it was pretty cool, and I got to meet Patrick Starr. Check out my Twitter for that photo. I don't know why I didn't make an overlay for that one. But that's kind of Radio Row. Pretty neat little setup, especially if you kind of just like rubbing elbows with all the media people. Again, like Peter Schrager's there, Ian Rappaport's there. I mean, anyone who's anyone in the space is there. Matthew Berry was walking around. It's a pretty cool little time in Radio Row, especially if you just kind of want to sit there, do some work, you know, plug in your laptop, and just kind of take it all in as a media person. That's where you would go for sure, is out at Radio Row. Only spent a couple days there, but it was nice when I was there. And then New Orleans. New Orleans was pretty crazy. I would say when you're walking around New Orleans during the Super Bowl, you're going to see everyone. And shout out to New Orleans as well, because New Orleans is a very walkable city. You don't really want to be walking alone at night, you know, at least in certain areas. But during the day, and really just in general, if you're with a group, the city's very flat, and everything is fairly close to each other. I got a lot of walking in this week. Because I drove from Biloxi. I stayed in Biloxi because everything in New Orleans was booked or way too expensive. And so I had to park in random places throughout the week and, you know, walk to this convention center, walk to this team hotel, walk to this lunch spot, all of that stuff. And I really enjoyed kind of walking around the city. I saw like Michael Strahan just being a normal dude. Howie Roseman was crossing the street FaceTiming his son when I was FaceTiming my fiance. John Gruden was walking out of a little outlet mall that I was going into to get some Cafe Du Monde. Matthew Berry I saw walking around. Countless others I'm sure as well that I didn't recognize or just don't remember right now. But pretty cool. Like any Super Bowl week, I assume that you're just going to see all of, you know, who's who walking around the town doing their thing. But especially in New Orleans, because it's a little bit smaller and very, very walkable, we were able to just see all sorts of different people. And Anand and I actually went to this cigar bar. I had my first cigar ever in my life. And Chad Ochocinco was there. So that was pretty cool. I got to meet Chad Ochocinco. He's one of my favorite players, really, of all time. That's, of course, when I grew up watching. And so to be able to meet Chad Ochocinco, was pretty damn cool. Technically smoked a cigar with him, you know, at least across from him. So we'll say that I smoked a cigar with him. And it was just really cool. The vibes of New Orleans from the whole week, the media week, interviewing the players, seeing all the people walking around, being a part of Radio Row. Really just an incredible experience. From top to bottom. I know that you're probably watching the show wanting some Super Bowl takeaways, and we're going to get to that, but I know that you also wanted to hear about what it is like as media at the Super Bowl. Like, what the hell do we do all week? Yeah, it's a lot of work, but we also get to take in the city, and it's a really, really cool time. I did want to also, before I move on to the game, I wanted to shout out New Orleans, really. All of the people there that we, like, Lyft drivers, bartenders, and everyone, they were all, like, 100% locals. Like, they were, like, born and raised New Orleans if you asked them where they were from, and they were just all super down-to-earth people, putting in the work with all sorts of, I mean, like, the busiest time of probably their life. And I just thought that was really interesting because, you know, I live in Atlanta. Half of this town is transplants. And to just, you know, kind of meet so many people who love this city and work on it in the way they do. Really, really cool times out in New Orleans. And really just an incredible week. I even got, walking back to my car, I even got Atlanted. Somebody gave me their mixtape, which I thought was pretty funny. I was like, man, I just cannot escape this city. But that's New Orleans for you. Everyone's hustling. Probably the hustle capital of the world. Really great week and awesome stuff. So before we get into the game, I do want to say, like I said, I stayed in Biloxi, so I had to drive 3 hours every single day total. But shout out Biloxi as well. If you guys looking for a little getaway, they got a nice little beach. They've got casinos, a good little small town. You have to drive a lot, but the beach was nice and the food was nice. And I, you know, while I kind of regret having to drive so much during the week, I did enjoy my time to kind of decompress, enjoy the sunset at the beach. And if I had money, I totally would have hit up the casinos, but enough money was spent on gas and food and drinks and all of the other stuff to survive throughout the week. But shout out Biloxi, Mississippi, and specifically Ocean Springs, where I was staying. If you guys are looking for a random getaway, this is the spot to do it. So let's get into the game. Let's get into the game. That's what you're really here for. And I want to give my takeaways for them. But before that, of course, we have to hear about Fast Draft.
Oh, incredible news. Oh, I see all this mock draft information out there. Oh, this mock, that mock. Hey, what about a real actual fantasy game? The Flex 4 game on Fast Draft, draftfaster.com, is open. You draft 6 running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. The top 4 enter your lineup every week. It's that easy. It's that simple. Drafts take 5 minutes. There's a $50,000 prize pool. It's $15,000 to first. It's just a $5 entry. And the best part, no rake. No rake whatsoever on Fast Draft, the first 2025 Best Ball contest to open in the world is ready for you to draft up to 150 teams. Draftfaster.com, draftfaster.com. Start playing Best Ball for real.
Go play Fast Draft. Season's over, guys, so you can now go ahead and get into Flex 4. There's also an Origins tournament if you want to, go ahead and draft all rookie teams. Incredible stuff going on over at Fast Draft. You can use promo code JASON for a first deposit match up to $25. That'll get you 5 entries for free in Origins or Flex 4, whatever you decide to use it on. The Super Bowl. What a game. I know a lot of people are maybe upset at the way the game went. I, for one, am not. I thought it was amazing. Let's talk about the experience. So first off, we met in the morning, me, Anand, and then we also got to meet up with Brendan Booth and Brittany Foxworth for the first time really that week. And it was really great to kind of meet Brittany. That was the first time in my entire life I got to meet Brittany. We pre-gamed a bit at one of the local bars before heading into the game. And then we headed into the game. This is 4 IPA deep Jason and a few drink deep everyone else. I won't go into their totals, but I was 4 IPAs deep rolling up to the game after pre-gaming that day. And we roll up to the stadium, and I would say this was the exact moment everything set in. You're working all week. You're doing all these interviews. You're walking around the town, but it still doesn't really feel real until you roll up to that stadium. And by the time we rolled up to that stadium, guys, I was like, holy shit. My stomach's dropping. We're actually going to the big game. And I really couldn't believe it. We get out of the bus. Anand and I get our photo. And we head up to our seats. And I mean seats. Anna and I actually had seats. Brittany and Brendan were in the media workroom, being able to watch the game with the whole media. We had 2 seats, though, and technically press seats. As you can kind of see, there were some work tables here. They gave us a really cool little magazine thing. It's pretty thick, actually, with all sorts of information from the NFL season, Super Bowls in the past, the teams, pretty cool stuff. And they also gave us, like true broadcasters, a little roster, which I thought was really neat. You get every single player, pronunciations of their names, all sorts of stuff. So I thought that was pretty cool. Technically seats, but press seats. We even had power, so we're able to charge our phones and stuff like that. And our view was just incredible. And I want to say, before we get up to there, the moment that I just knew that this was going to be the Eagles game, and remember that I picked the Eagles. I've been talking about the Eagles winning the Super Bowl since the playoffs were kind of set in stone. They were the most complete team. But when you go up an escalator to get to your seat that's all green, that's the moment to me that I was like, we are about to watch the Eagles absolutely cook this game. And we get to our seats. This is our view. And I'll talk about the game now and kind of just what it felt like in the stadium, because I know that a lot of people are very curious. The Super Bowl is generally a corporate event. I mean, tickets are thousands of dollars. Generally, there's not a lot of fans there. This year, totally different. This stadium had to have been 70% Eagles fans, and that might be a conservative estimate. And it might have maybe just been our section, but I would say it's even evidenced by the fact that anytime they showed the Chiefs on the big screen, when the Chiefs were walking out, the stadium was just filled with boos. I mean, you saw the clip, even Taylor Swift was booed. The Eagles fans showed out to this game, and I really think that made such a massive difference. It felt like a home game for the Eagles. I've never been to an Eagles home game, but this is exactly what I imagine an Eagles home game felt like, because we were surrounded by Eagles fans in our section. If you walked around at all, if you ever went to the bathroom, it was a line of Eagles fans. There were the Fly Eagles Fly chant was the game hadn't even started yet, and we were chanting Fly Eagles Fly and doing the EAGLES Eagles. It was amazing. They really, really showed out. This, to me, I've never been to a Super Bowl, but this to me felt like a true NFL game. It didn't feel like a corporate Super Bowl event. Lots of different fans there, and everyone showed out really 70 to 30% to support these Eagles, and that energy never left the stadium. This was a true celebration, really from start to finish, but I would say to me the true turning point of this game, where it turned from maybe kind of anxious, like what kind of game are we gonna get, was that Cooper DeJean pick six. After that pick six, this thing just turned into an electric party and celebration for Eagles fans. Tons of Fly Eagles Fly chants, tons of Eagles chants. And I don't know if Eagles fans will admit it. Mark, if you're in the chat watching today, I don't know if you'll admit it, but I think after that pick six, everyone knew what was about to happen in this game. It was just utter domination from start to finish from the Eagles. Incredible performance. Some of my favorite stats, in fact, my favorite stat is, of course, the fact that in the first half, the Eagles had 24 points to the Chiefs' 23 total yards. The Eagles had more points than the Chiefs had yards. And to really bring that home, shout out the Ringer podcast. I just kept listening to Super Bowl podcasts on my 6-hour drive yesterday. They pointed out that Jahan Dotson and Kenneth Gainwell individually had more yards than the Chiefs in the first half. Do you understand how insane that is? Jahan Dotson and Kenneth Gainwell had more yards than the Chiefs. That really, to me, exemplifies the first half of this game. The Cooper DeJean pick six, the Fly Eagles Fly. And Mark and Eagles fans, this is what it sounded like in that building. Really amazing stuff. As you can tell, loud as hell in there. Eagles fans really, really did show out, and it never stopped from that point on. Now, that's kind of a little bit of a first half thing, I do want to talk about the halftime show. Why not? Why not talk about the halftime show? It's pretty divisive right now. Everyone likes giving their takes on the halftime show. And I want to say that I am a massive Kendrick Lamar fan. The first time I saw Kendrick Lamar was in 2013, just for a second. He was at a music festival I was at, but Good Kid, Mad City was a very, very instrumental album to not necessarily my childhood, but my high school years. And I love Kendrick Lamar. This halftime show to me, at least in the stadium at first, I was fairly disappointed, and mostly because I am an old Kendrick Lamar fan. It sounds weird saying that. It sounds very elitist when I say that, but I wanted some Good Kid, Mad City. I damn sure wanted some To Pimp a Butterfly, and we kind of only got Damn to Now, and mostly even just his newer songs, which I know a lot of people like, and I know that that's, probably what he has to play given he's doing the Super Bowl, but I thought we'd kind of get a celebration of his career in a way. So I kind of left a little bit disappointed, and that was mostly because it's actually pretty difficult to take in a halftime show if you're in the stadium. As you can see from the picture, I mean, like, you don't really know where he is, what's going on, and so many different moving parts that it's kind of hard to get the whole production. It was sick, super enjoyable. He put on a great performance. He always does. I've seen him 4 times now. But in terms of the atmosphere watching it in the stadium, it really didn't hit that hard. I won't lie. The sound wasn't quite right. I mean, everyone's so loud. I will say we did get these were pretty cool. The wrist lights. I think they showed it on the broadcast. But the seats were like doing words and stuff and changing colors, and it was this little wristband. But in terms of watching it from the stadium, kind of disappointing, especially to me, the set list. I wanted some older Kendrick songs, I won't lie, but was still a really, really good performance. And when I got home, I actually went and watched the made-for-TV version, and it was a lot better if you were able to watch it on the TV. Still think he maybe could have been a little less tongue-in-cheek. I think he could have been a little bit more... I think he could have made a better statement than he did. I think a lot of what he was trying to say went over too many people's heads. But, I guess you kind of have to for the Super Bowl. You've got to kind of make it for TV. You can't be, like, too different, You can't say too much politically. But, Kendrick Lamar's music is very, very political and activist in nature. And he kind of went away from that as much as he could in this show, which was one thing that kind of, I don't know, I wouldn't say disappointed. I understand why he'd do that, but again, I wanted different songs and everything, and I kind of wish he was a little bit more upfront about what he was trying to say as opposed to dancing around everything. But it was still an incredible performance, especially being able to go and watch it back on TV, or the made-for-TV version. It's very hard to be a rapper and do a show like this, and he was able to keep flowing, keep rapping, and dancing and everything perfectly, and that, like, he really is truly one of the best performers to do it, and it was a really, really good performance. I think he fell a little flat in his delivery, a little flat in his set list, but he also probably did exactly everything he could have, given it's a Super Bowl halftime show. So I do want to give some props to Kendrick. I know he's getting a lot of hate. I'm gonna put it at, like, a 6 to 7 in terms of how good it was, but I think a lot of people are being a little bit worse than that. I'll give it a 7, not even a 6 to 7. I'll give it a 7. It was a good performance. It could have been better, but it was nice. So the second half of the game kicks off, and the energy is just so much louder. I mean, it is 24-0 at this point, and I'm telling you guys again, it was like 70% Eagles fans, and maybe at this point 80% Eagles fans, because I doubt Chiefs fans were really having it at that point. And I kept having jokes with Anand. After the pick six, for example, I was like, if I'm the Eagles, I'm calling another pick six on this play. And then he, of course, threw the interception. But I just kept trying to call plays throughout the whole time. And I perfectly called the Devontae Smith touchdown. It was quite electric, actually. We had Eagles fans all around me, and I just went, Devontae Smith double move touchdown here, easy. happened, and it was amazing. You guys know I love the Slim Reaper. Fun fact I learned from Media Week. In fact, I should have tweeted about this more because I thought it was really interesting. He's from the New Orleans area, and he actually said that his grandfather was coming to his first game since high school. He hadn't been able to make it to any Alabama games. Definitely hasn't been able to make it to any Philadelphia games. And so he was kind of there to show out for his grandfather in this game, and he did in a big way. The whole Eagles did. And it was just an incredible second half as well. Just seriously belt to ass. Shout out Philadelphia Eagles for the game. Probably around 10 minutes left of the fourth quarter, Anand and I actually just went to walk around the stadium for a little bit. And we got down to the 100 levels just as the game was kind of ending. And being down there, the confetti showers, all of the Eagles fans, the true celebration in the air, a truly unforgettable moment, all-time experience I could go on and on about. The game was so out of hand that there's really not much football to talk about, but I do have some actual takeaways after kind of wrapping up this experience here. But seriously, just when you get down to the lower levels, it does get a little bit more corporate, I won't lie. At the upper levels, that's really where the fans can kind of afford tickets. So it was like being up there, it's a lot louder and everything. You get down, it's a little bit quieter. I won't lie, and we were able to kind of just walk down and get lower for a nice little photo op and take in the experience from the lower levels. But, you know, there was even some Chiefs fans down there that I thought were Chiefs fans, but they were just people who bought a Chiefs jersey, you know? Like, it is just, you know, a different vibe at the lower levels. I won't lie. So if you ever go to the Super Bowl, I recommend going up top, getting that full view and being with all the fans. It was pretty sweet. It was an amazing experience up there. Really cool being lower, just to kind of take in, like, the end of the game. You know, get the confetti, feel the vibes down there, and be able to be a little closer to the celebration. But in terms of watching the ball, I won't lie, I kind of liked being up top. But that was kind of our experience from watching the game. Incredible game, I won't lie, and incredible experience. Shout out Eagles fans for showing out in such a big way. Now, my takeaways from the actual game. The DraftKings lineup that I shared with you guys in the Super Bowl preview. It hit. It was a top 10% lineup. So I hope you guys did tail that lineup and enter it in your own DraftKings contest. Underdog ticket didn't hit, but hey, that was a no sweat entry anyway. And who would have thought the Chiefs would be that bad? I knew the Eagles would win this game pretty handily, but I didn't think that Patrick Mahomes would look as horrible as he did. So we'll take the win with the DraftKings lineup. And since the underdog entry was a no sweat anyway, we won't sweat about it. But I want to shout out Saquon Barkley, because in this game he was, quote-unquote, shut down, if you look at the box score, but he still had 97 yards. And because of that, he not only broke the single-season record for rushing yards in a game, but also broke the single-season rush yards record, including the playoffs, but also the single-season scrimmage yards record, including the playoffs. Just an unbelievable season from Saquon Barkley. Shout out to him for making the right decision to go to Philadelphia, ending the season in a big way. The storyline going into this game, as we talked about, right? The game plan from the Kansas City Chiefs was always going to be try to stop Saquon Barkley and let Jalen Hurts beat you. And my take was, of course, that they're not really going to be able to stop Saquon. He's still going to get around 60 yards at least. And Jalen Hurts is going to be able to show up. I have always been a massive Jalen Hurts defender. I hate how disrespected he is. And I went on here, my take was that Jalen Hurts is going to have a coming out party in this game. Like, this is really where he's going to put some respect on his name. He's going to prove that he's a top quarterback in this league. And he did. I know it's not flashy. I know that Jalen Hurts just does what it takes. But that's what it takes to be a quarterback in this league. Jalen Hurts is a top quarterback in this league. He's an incredible leader, and he gets the job done in an incredible way. You need him to pass, he'll do it. You need him to run, he'll do it. You need him to keep the ball from turnovers, he'll do it. The interception in this game was meaningless. It was like a fourth down. He just threw it up, right? Perfect performance from him. And he just does it on the big stage, right? The last time Jalen Hurts looked this good was the Super Bowl against the Chiefs last time. 300 passing yards in that one. And the fact that so many people were like, Jalen Hurts won't be able to do it again, was asinine to me. Jalen Hurts has proven time and time again throughout his career that he's a winner, first and foremost. and he cemented that legacy in this game. The Eagles are one of the most well-built teams ever in the history of the league. From top to bottom, man. And they're probably going to be back here next year. And Jalen Hurts has finally put some respect on his name. Shout out to everyone that has him in Dynasty. He's only 26. I'm older than Jalen Hurts. That blew my mind. Because he has the aura and swag of a 41-year-old. Like, he is so confident, so well-spoken, such a good leader. So mature as well. I mean, like, just the way, like, his interviews, the way he talks, the way he carries himself. He is a champion. And he was always gonna be a champion. I put my money where my mouth is. I bet on the Eagles money line. $75. I don't have that. But I knew it. And I called it all playoffs. And a big part of that is because I've always believed in Jalen Hurts, and I will never not believe in Jalen Hurts. So welcome to the Jalen Hurts Club, everyone. Welcome aboard, because it's going to be a fun ride. Maybe they'll get the three-peat. Could you imagine? Could you imagine the Eagles get the three-peat? That's a city that maybe doesn't deserve it. But could you imagine? I mean, that team. What Howie Roseman has done. And it's incredible. It's literally like, he didn't even have to do anything. Like, everything just fell in his lap. You get Saquon Barkley in free agency. You get to trade for A.J. Brown. You get to draft the entire Georgia Bulldogs championship defense because teams pass up on them for no good reason. Like, how in the world did they get Jalen Carter when they did? How did they get Nolan Smith when they did? How did they get Jordan Davis when they did? How did they get Cooper DeJean when they did? Right? How did Zach Bond randomly become an all-pro linebacker? How did Mekhi Becton fall into their laps? Unheard of, the team building that the Philadelphia Eagles have done. One of the best teams in NFL history. And they showed us in a massive way, not just on offense, but in defense as well. Patrick Mahomes. Going into this game, the conversation was Chiefs going for the three-peat. Patrick Mahomes, is he already the GOAT? And I had lots of conversations this week with people of the media, with Onin, with Luke Sawhook, with anyone I could ask this question to, the guy I was sitting next to at the game. And, you know, it's interesting. I started the week off talking about, I had a question, and I want you guys to answer this as well. And the answer has probably changed after this Super Bowl. But heading into the week, I had a thought. Do you think that Patrick Mahomes, it's more likely that Patrick Mahomes never goes to another Super Bowl, or Patrick Mahomes gets to 3 more Super Bowls in the next 7 years? And the fact that we even have to think about that is miraculous, right? And most people said it's probably more likely that he goes to 3 more Super Bowls. I don't know if the answer has changed after this week. My take all week was that it's probably more likely he never goes to another Super Bowl. And I know that that was crazy to say, but you have to think about the AFC. You have to think about the way the Chiefs are built. And you have to think about the way the NFL's going. Right? And I felt that the Patrick Mahomes GOAT conversation, and yes, I'm like Tom Brady's biggest fan. I know. But I felt it was too early. And maybe this is how Joe Montana's fans felt when Tom Brady in like 2007 was being talked about as the GOAT already. And everyone's like, you know, you got to let him get through his career before you could say that, you know, like Joe Montana's the GOAT. That's maybe how, you know, Joe Montana fans felt at the time. And that's how I felt this week too. I was like, yes, Patrick Mahomes had an incredible career. Yes, he's always been in the AFC Championship. Yes, he's going for the three-peat. Yes, he's probably more talented than Tom Brady. But greatness is more than just what shows up on the stat sheet. And Tom Brady, 25 years in this league, constant winner, right? Never, ever looked like what Patrick Mahomes looked like in this game. And yes, a ton of credit goes out to Vic Fangio and the game plan, right? A stat that has been thrown around a lot now is the Eagles were able to win this game without blitzing. They didn't blitz a single time. They got 6 sacks. They almost broke the Super Bowl record for sacks in a game without a single blitz because that defensive line is so well built. Quarterbacks have had a game where they've not been blitzed 6 times in their career, and quarterbacks are 0-6 in those games. It's just miraculous, right? It's a cliche, right? You win by only rushing 4. And the Eagles were able to pull that off. And I think it's pretty strange, pretty odd, pretty cuckoo that Patrick Mahomes just couldn't do anything about it. He looked horrible. This was by far the worst game of his career. On the biggest stage, in his biggest moment, going for the three-peat, going for history. The dude couldn't do a single thing until garbage time. And it was hard to watch. And I've just got to say, Tom Brady will always be the GOAT. Tom Brady never looked like this on the big stage. Yeah, sure, maybe his final game as a Patriot against the Titans wasn't great, but do you remember that wide receiver core and offensive line and team in general? To even make it to that game was nothing short of a miracle. But Patrick Mahomes, he looked like people thought Jalen Hurts would play, right? And that was disrespectful to even think that Jalen Hurts would play that way again. But Mahomes looked horrible. 2 interceptions, the fumble. Constantly taking sacks. He couldn't even get out of the pocket. He did not look like Patrick Mahomes in this game. And I do think that this tarnishes his legacy. There's a difference between Tom Brady's 7-3 record in Super Bowls and what he's been able to do throughout his long career. Again, there's a difference between greatness and talent. And Tom Brady will always be the GOAT. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all I've got for you. Do we have any questions about my week? Or anything in general, really? Doesn't really look like it. But Kenny sends me an invite, if I ever go to the Falcons-Saints game. I don't know if I want to be a Falcons fan in New Orleans on Falcons-Saints week, but maybe. That does sound kind of fun. But Dark Brown does have a great comment here. Hurts is changing the quarterback position. No longer should they be rated by how many yards, touchdowns, or interceptions, but how many wins. But even Jalen Hurts doesn't turn the ball over. I think it was like 34 touchdowns to 2 interceptions in the last 14 games for Jalen Hurts. He's just a stud. And anyone who's ever thought differently about Jalen Hurts, I hope that they're able to watch this game and change their mind. I know that I've always been a Jalen Hurts fan. And I'm maybe not the person to be to be talking about this, in the way, because I never doubted him, Listen, like I said, I'm a massive Tom Brady fan, and I see Tom Brady and Jalen Hurts. It's not always about what you do on the stats. It's about those wins so much, and it's about leading the team. The fact that he was able to take a back seat to Saquon Barkley this season isn't, anything negative against Jalen Hurts. If anything, that's a positive. To not have the ego to be like, no, this is my team, Saquon. I'm going to do my thing. To be like, no, what is best for the team? And just still, right? Like, Jalen Hurts led all rushing touchdowns amongst quarterbacks. And Jalen Hurts was still amazing all season. He's a true top quarterback. Historically, I would say probably, I wish Mark were here, I think he's probably the greatest Eagles quarterback, and there's some good ones. I think he's already the greatest Eagles quarterback, and he's only 26. It's going to be fun to watch him and this team for the next few seasons. My bold prediction here, Eagles-Ravens Super Bowl next year. Eagles win it again. And it's going to be fun. Shout out, birds. Fly, Eagles, fly. One thing before we go. One final thing. I do want to shout out my bird. If you guys don't know, Pip tried to tell us he picked the Eagles to win the Super Bowl, and I just want to give him his flowers. So shout out Pip for picking the Eagles, and again, thank you all. Really. I know that I started this show with some gratitude. I want to end it with some gratitude as well. I wouldn't have been able to have this experience without you guys giving me this platform, without Player Profiler sending me, without all of my friends and family that have supported me to help me get to this position. Thank you all so much. I hope you all have a terrific Tuesday. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week. Get some rest. Take some time off before the Dynasty in season, right? We can rest a tiny bit. But we will be back Friday for Players I Love on Valentine's Day for Dynasty. I'm going to have some Dynasty takes for you guys on Friday's episode. We'll be back then. You all enjoy your week. I'll see you on Friday. Have a good one. Peace.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.